I'm really looking forward to our chat too. Great topic, absolutely. So just wanted to sort of jump in a little bit around why it's important to even start making a plan and making a decision to do stuff with your money. And that is because if you continue to do the same things over and over, nothing changes until you actually make that decision that you want to do something differently. And the decision's not perfect. It's to look at where we are today and how to build it out from there. So if you've got the awareness of where you are, what that does is it creates you options, and it avoids quietly costing you money in the long run by not knowing what your options are. When we talk about people delaying in making that decision, why people avoid that financial side of things, it's because money is a very, very emotional part. It's not logic. It comes from our emotions. So a lot of people are fear of the judgment. A lot of them are, like it's the shame of where we are, or confirming some of their worries are really worries that they need to be looking at. The avoidance feels safe. It is a short-term answer, but in the long term, it's really costly. If we don't sit down and we start to build on your decisions of getting into financial wealth and financial building of stabilities, it's going to cost you down the road because we all know life goes fast. So when I look at the different ages in life, because everybody's going to be at a different stage and different things that you want to look at. And it's never too early to start making a plan or making a decision to get a plan in place. And it's really never too late. So I talk to a lot of people that say to me, I'm only 18, 19 years old. I don't need to make a plan. But I also talk to people on the other end of the spectrum they're coming up to retirement. They've left jobs, or their jobs have been eliminated. They're trying to find different types of work, but they're wanting to build their financial plan into retirement. And they feel at this point that it's too late to start because they haven't done it their whole life. So those are really big myths in our world and in our conversations that people have, and just, small chat with your friends and everything else. It's too early to start, it's too late to start. Oh, I've got a family on the way. So want to break down all of those myths, and I want to really, let people know that it's okay to start at any time of your life, because now that's putting things in place that is going to make your life better and make you live that life that you want to live instead of struggling the whole time, no matter how old or how young you are. And when we look at our different age demographics, when we look at somebody who's 18 to 25, let's say, um, they want to start thinking about where they want to go, their financial future. They might be in school, and right now they've got a lot of student loans, or they're, just scraping by paycheck to paycheck because they are going to school, or maybe they're not even going to school and they're just trying to figure out what they want to do. Well, starting small at that age, it builds the habits. And the habits are the biggest thing that keeps us on track and builds us success through our whole life. So never are you too young to get started into this. And then as we go through life and we start to get our career and we find our partners, or we learn to travel or anything else, that age group between 25 and 35, what they're doing is they're really building their foundation and they're really building their awareness. That's the time from this point on that if you haven't already started those habits, or even if you have, you want to get to this stage between 25 and 35 where you're really solidifying and building concrete decisions and habits that are in place that are so powerful that you're not going to slide off track. And those habits you build, they're even more powerful than the income that you're bringing in, because that's going to help you learn that habit of my income means that I'm going to build this budgeting path. I'm going to make this decision that I'm not straying from. Um, 25 to 35-year-olds, you really start to understand your cash flow. You understand what debt management is. You get the basics of it. You're really starting to build that foundation. So that's all around what we do in 25 to 35-year-olds. It's also early clarity on what you want to do. It creates your flexibility. It creates confidence for later on down the life. So that's where our focus is around the 25 to 35-year-olds. when we step back and we look at our life, as we've all gone through, and we look at ourselves at 36 and 45, it's that intention of doing what you want to do in your life instead of just running on autopilot. So again, between those ages, life really gets full because during that time, you're deep into your career. You may have started a family, you may have a home that you've purchased, and you've got a lot of things on the go, spending time with family, all that. Life gets overwhelmed. So that's what I say about autopilot. You don't want to get into autopilot and just kind of go through life and let your financial strategies and your financial decisions and plans fall off the rail because then you're on catch up time. We might have to adjust what we're doing at that point because of all the different financial obligations or your responsibilities that have come into play, but you still want to stay on your plan and you still want to stay on that decision you've made to be financially sound and healthy as you go through life. You want to protect that time that you have, not just with your money, but you want to protect that time that you have with your family too, because those years go so quickly and life changes so quickly. And it's an emotionally energy draining time in most people's lives. So you want to always remember to put yourself first and remember to stay on track with what you made your decisions to do. And then after, like when we look at ourselves from 46 to 55, um, that's the time to step back and look again and do some course corrections and some ownership because through your years of 36 or yeah 36 to 45, through those years there are times when things are going to fall off the tracks in the course. So now we're going to look at 46 to 55 and we're going to look at our ages there and our time in our life and we're going to start to now go back on course correction and we're going to own what we've planned because retirement becomes real. At that point, we kind of sit back and we look, oh, I'm only about 15 years away from my retirement goals, which is what we talked about, that I want to retire by the time I'm 65. Well, we better get ourselves back on track so that we can retire at 55 and we're not, working at 70, 80 because we have to instead of because we really want to continue to work through those years. Um, Urgency increases because years fly by so quickly. It's that sense of urgency to get going back on track. Um, you got decisions to make. What went on in those years gone by? And there's no judgment on it. What went on to take you off the track? What went on to maybe that we aren't sitting where we really wanted to be for retirement? And, now again, we're going to take it back to that course correction. You're not judged. You should never feel bad about where you are because life happens. It's just, do you stay on track to make sure you continue to be on track and we get ourselves to where we want to be by the time we've made that retirement age? And then when we look at 55 and onwards, that's when reality really hits. We've now hit where, where am I sitting with where I wanted to be at 55? Am I ready for retirement? What's my legacy I want to leave for my family or for donations or anything? What's the legacy that I want to leave behind? What's my preservation that I want? Because eventually one day we all want to stop working at one point, whether it's we stop because we have to or we stop because, it's if we just decide we want to do more traveling or whatever it is. So what's that preservation? What do we need to have to last us to the ends of our lives? Because statistically, we are living longer than we ever have. So, we can't rely on the government pensions. They're there to help us, but we want to be sure that we're set up and you're set up for those later years in life, for the unexpected, whether it's unexpected health, whether it's, unexpected, your job's ended early. Where do we want to go with that? And we want to be independent. So that's part of the planning when you get to 55 is staying independent. You want to protect what you've worked so hard all these years to get. You want to protect that and make sure it's still working for you. You want to reduce your stresses. And this is all so important when we make a decision on what we're doing with our finances, because finances are probably the biggest stresses in all of our lives. So you want to reduce that stress. You need the clarity, the support, the dignity. What's your lifestyle? And your loved ones. Your loved ones are really important too at all stages of your life. But as we get older, we want to make sure that our loved ones are taken care of, that they're supported, and that we can pass on this knowledge to them or pass on the names of people that have helped you through the years. So that's the really important pieces as we get older. And as I just, went through all those years, you know, I look back at when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, and I thought, oh, I've got miles ahead of me before I hit retirement age or. And I look at where I am now and I'm like, I'm in that age group of where, oh my goodness, it's like, you know, 15, 20 years out. And it's like, where did those years go? So it happens faster than we really realize. So it's just working with someone and making that decision. You're going to stay on that path will eliminate all your stresses. It'll make sure you're in a solid position that you can do what you have decided to do and live your life the way you want to instead of living your life the way that you have to because we haven't taken the time to do those course corrections. So the universal truth on all of this is you don't need the answers. You just need the willingness to start. And that will set your path. And the decision is that, when you're ready to look at it, you're going to understand it and take one step to align all of your goals. That's where your decision is made. Yeah, and to add on a little bit to the comfort and the discipline too. Like I like how you say too, and you're so right that when you make that decision not to go in the gym in the morning, or you make that decision not to make that $100 payment into your retirement savings or your tax free, whatever else, and you've built it and you've gone on a holidays, well, that $2,000, it seems like a little bit at the time that you've made that decision, but it sure is a lot at the end of the day that could have been earning you way more than that vacation that is done and gone. And that's also part of the comfort there is, yeah, I made this commitment of making that $100 contribution or deposit. I need to move forward and do that because that's my commitment. And that's your discipline is to stick with that road. But the other discipline on that is if it's really important for you to go on that holiday or really important that you want this special car, when when we're talking as advisors and we're talking as planners with our clients and advisors and we're building all these plans, that's where you say, like my clients say to me, yes, this is really important, all building my retirement and building my wealth and making sure that I've got a legacy for myself and my family, but I do want to have fun too. Well, that's part of what we do together. And that's part of what my job is to carve that piece out for you and set it aside in a different savings plan that is still going to grow your money. But that's where you're going to take those wants out of, or those, oh my gosh, what happened? I've got an emergency here. Those are what we're going to build for so that your plan on your life goal is not deviating and you can stay consistent with it and be very disciplined.